YouTubers. It's been a long time since I've done a cooking video, but it's also been a long time since we've had good enough weather that I can feel really comfortable doing something outside on the grill. So today I'm going to try a recipe that I tried a few months ago inside, but I want to do it outside. And it's a recipe I got out of this book by Stephen Raiklin, and it's called Chinatown spare ribs with Beijing barbecue sauce. So what I'm going to do first is make up the rub. And let's aim the camera down and show you the ingredients for the rub. It's pretty simple. The rub itself he calls the 5-4-3-2-1 rub, and you'll see why in a second. So let's set the book down and take a look at the ingredients. Alright, the ingredients, I'm going to give you the quantities in tablespoons, but the quantity is not as important as the ratio. So the book calls for a ratio in tablespoons, but we want 5 tablespoons of brown sugar, 4 tablespoons of coarse salt, preferably kosher salt, 3 tablespoons of freshly ground black pepper, 2 tablespoons of Chinese 5-spice seasoning, and finally 1 tablespoon of onion powder. So I'm going to mix all of those together and get started putting together the rub. Okay, let's put this together. Instead of using just a spoon for measuring, I've got this little measuring cup here that's graduated in tablespoon quantities on the inside. So I'm just going to start packing it up with my sugar. So the way I'm thinking of this, and maybe a little bit different, but that's about 5 tablespoons of sugar, is that we're doing a multicultural meal today, because I tend to think of barbecue ribs as an American southern dish. That's just the way I think of barbecue. There's 4 tablespoons of kosher salt, maybe a little more. Then, if it's an southern American dish, what about the rest of it? Well, this is a multicultural because what we're going to do is add the Chinese flavors. Here's going to be the slowest part. Grinding 3 tablespoons of black pepper could take me a little while. If I set that in there, then the stuff that I'm spilling may stay in it. We'll give it a couple more. Like that. Set this back. There's our 3 tablespoons of black pepper. It's about 2 tablespoons of this Chinese 5-spice seasoning. Normally I'm not a real fan of this stuff, but in this particular recipe it goes pretty good. It's got kind of an anise licorice flavor. Then we need about a tablespoon of onion powder. There we are. Put the lid on this guy. The lid back on there. And I'm just going to stir this all up and then go inside and get the ribs and bring them out here. Okay, got out my 1 rack of ribs. Remember, there's only 2 of us eating this, so I'm going to start on the back side and just sprinkle some of this rub on. I've got way more rub than I can use on just this one rack of ribs, probably enough for 2 or 3, but we'll rub it in anyways. I have removed the membrane, silver skin, whatever you want to call it, that's on the back of the ribs. There's a million videos on YouTube of how to do that, so I didn't include that in this video. Trying to remember not to put the hand that touched the meat back into the thing and into the rub there. Yeah, there. Now I've used both hands. Well, I've got enough rub on there anyways. So that's good. Paper towel to wipe me off. I've got an aluminum pan right there. I'm going to just set it down for a second. I'm going to cut this rack in half. It'll be easier to cook. And keep on the grill that way. So there's that. I'm going to cover this up, stick it in the refrigerator while I get the fire started, and then I'll come out and get it going. So back in just a second while I go put this in the fridge and then start the fire. Alright, the grill is almost up to the temperature I want. I'm aiming for about 225 and we're not quite there yet, but we're pretty close. So let's open it up. You can see I do have a, maybe you can't see through that smoke, a temperature probe in there. I've got my remote thermometer, and let's just take and put the meat on the grill. There's our 2 slabs. I just got a mouthful of smoke. I've got the fire just on one side, and I've got a couple of chunks of apple wood on top of the hardwood charcoal that I'm using. It's the cowboy hardwood. So let's close this back up. And I'm going to use what's called the 3-2-1 method today. I think you've probably seen me do that before, and a lot of other people use that method. So 3-2-1 method, and check my time, about 11:45, about 11:45 noon. So we'll let this go until a little before 3. Okay, gang, it has been just about 3 hours since I put the ribs on. See how they look? Oh, they look pretty good, don't they? Now, since I said I was going to use the 3-2-1 method, I'm going to move these into a bit of a pan. And sometimes I use apple juice when I'm doing it this way, but today I'm going to use beer. It's not going to get a whole can though, just a little bit. Maybe about a half a can. The rest of that goes, as Chef Bork would say, keep the sweat out my eyes. So we'll cover this up. And put it back on the heat. I'm going to move it a little bit closer to the heat, and that can go for another 2 hours. So that's the 3-2-1 method. This is the step 2. We've had the step 3, which was 3 hours of smoking. Now we're getting the 2 hours of lightly steaming in the beer, and then we'll go to step 1. I'll show you that in a little bit. Alrighty, the ribs have been here on the grill for, well, they're 3 hours of initial smoking, then 2 hours of steaming, if you will, and that little bit of beer. Now it's time to make the sauce, the barbecue sauce. And again, I'm working from this book from Stephen Rachlin called Project Smoke. And what he calls this Beijing barbecue sauce. I guess the old-fashioned word would be Peking barbecue sauce. Anyways, it doesn't have a lot of ingredients in it. Basically, you got to throw them together and heat them up. So I'm going to use this little teeny 2-cup cast iron saucepan. First thing it calls for is a cup of hoisin sauce. There you go, hoisin sauce. That's already a kind of a Chinese style barbecue. So let's measure out. I don't know if I have a full cup here or not, so I might just cut back on everything else. I've only got about a half a cup, so I'm going to make this in half quantities, but I will read you the full quantity recipe, okay? So there we go, that's the hoisin sauce, and it calls for a full cup. Now he wants 3 tablespoons of Asian dark sesame oil. There we go, Asian sesame oil. And again, I'm using my little container here because it's graduated in tablespoons. So let's measure out 1.5 tablespoons. There's 1.5 tablespoons of sesame oil, and I'm just going to put it right into the saucepan there. I'll get the hoisin sauce in there, and then we'll throw the whole thing onto the grill. Then we need 3 tablespoons of honey. I've got some honey from Mount Horeb, Wisconsin, it says. I heated this up a little bit in the microwave just to make it a bit softer. So there we go, 3 tablespoons of honey. And finally, it wants 3 tablespoons of sriracha. I don't like sriracha. I'm going to use the hot sauce of my choice, which is Trappy's. And I'm not going to measure it. I'm just going to put in a couple of glugs. That is it for the barbecue sauce. Let's put that over the fire. Okay, we're going to warm up our sauce over the fire. Once it gets nice and warm, I will take the ribs out of the aluminum foil pan and give them a good coating and put them back to just roasting outside the pan. I just want to get this nice and warm. Okay, YouTubers, there's my sauce. It's in the little saucepan here. We were interrupted by a phone call, and so I had to take that. I may have lost my place in this video. Sorry about that, but it was a very important phone call. So, anyways, what I'm going to do is take the ribs out of this thing and put them back on the grill directly. And I'm going to put just a little bit of this liquid, not much, just a little, into the sauce. Stir that in. I added more charcoal, and now I'm going to brush some of this sauce onto the ribs. Oh, that thing is getting hot. It's all that extra charcoal I added. So, we'll brush a little bit on the back. Then the lid's going back on. Well, YouTubers, I hope you can hear the bells over there at the Abbey. For those of you who've watched my channel for the last couple of years, you know exactly what time it is now when those bells are ringing. I love hearing those. That's just, to me, it's just a fantastic sound. That's great. Okay, YouTubers. The meat's been on for about a half an hour, 45 minutes. Sitting here with the barbecue sauce on it. So what I'm going to do is grab my handy dandy vegetable basket. And I'm going to take the top off the grill, put a little bit of spray oil under, and then I'm going to take this, which is my asparagus that has been marinating for the last hour or so in a solution of Chinese sesame oil, soy sauce, minced garlic, and minced ginger root. And I'm going to put this on for just a short, quick, high temperature grill in that veggie pan. So here we go. We'll move the meat out of the way just a little bit. Spray oil this pan. Put it right over the heat, the hottest part. There we go. So this is continuing our Asian theme for the Asian flavored ribs. And now we've got Asian flavored marinated nice skinny springtime asparagus, and it's right over the highest part of the heat. So this won't take too long to do. I think what I'm going to do, put the meat in the aluminum foil again and cover it up and take that inside. Well, I don't know if you can see that orange fire under there. Look at that. Wow, that's going to do these really quick. Close the bottom vent. Close the top vent so when I put the lid down it'll be ready. Grab my handy dandy hot pads. This is coming off. There's the asparagus. I'm ready to go inside and eat my dinner. Okay folks, I don't know how well you can see it, but there it is. Got a few pieces of asparagus and some Chinese flavored ribs. Let's taste this. This is a very unusual, not standard, aim the camera up a little bit. This is not your standard barbecue that we're used to thinking of, American Southern style barbecue. But it's very good. It's an alternative flavor and I recommend it. It's a nice change of pace. So anyways, there's my take of Asian style barbecued ribs with an Asian style asparagus. Hey, if you like my videos, I'd appreciate you subscribing. If you're already a subscriber, thanks a million. Until the next time I come around on YouTube, bye-bye.